I want to travel with them. But yeah, but we also found in the trunk, there was a couple newspaper articles, there was, just stuff that had just been left in there. And we hadn't opened it yet, and so it was like finding hidden treasure in the trunk.
You're still finding stuff.
Yeah, we are.
And you're still learning stuff.
I learn something every day, like the basketball.
Yes.
I talked to Jerry. Okay, so really quickly, I don't know how many.
Because Wednesday, we didn't know, and now today you know.
Yes.
2 days later. Okay.
Yeah, so, I was doing a section of the exhibit on sports. And of course, you go to the big ones, the big three. Karate, football, and racquetball. And we know we have baseball gloves and baseballs, and we have boxing gloves too in the collection. But I was digging through documents, and I forget how it even came up on my screen, but I found a letter about Elvis having a basketball court built at his Palm Springs house. And not only did we find the letter, and we found the check that paid for it. And I'm like, basketball, we have nothing basketball. We don't have a basketball. We have nothing basketball in the collection at all. And I'm like, this is weird, but it's a new sport, I guess, that he likes. And so I checked in on Jerry the other day, and I said, by the way, I'm gonna take your mind off what's going on in LA, and I'm gonna ask you a question. What is it with this basketball court in Palm Springs? He goes, oh yeah, he goes, it really wasn't a court, it was more of a hoop in the driveway, kind of on the garage type thing. And Elvis did play a couple of times. It wasn't his favorite sport, but it was mainly used by the guys to have something to do when they were at Palm Springs. But then he went into his story about befriending Wilt Chamberlain, and that Wilt ends up coming to one of Elvis's Las Vegas shows, and Jerry tells Elvis that Wilt's in the audience, and Jerry's like, I know you don't follow basketball, but just he's kind of a big deal, And so halfway through the show, Elvis says, oh, and by the way, we have Mr. Basketball himself, Wilt Chamberlain here, and then he goes through and starts reading stats and going, he always wears this headband and just all of this information about him before Google. And you had it before Google. And after the show, Jerry goes, I didn't know you followed basketball. And he said, Elvis's comment goes, I follow anything that's great. Yeah. And so I thought that was amazing. But now we know the story of the basketball court. There was one. Wasn't a big hobby of Elvis's, but he actually had one. Yeah. Always learning, always searching. Okay, so now we're kind of coming out of Elvis's military days, because this is all kind of really, focused on that.
So when you were talking about the release of the records and the songs and stuff through 58 and 59, I think also if you weren't around then, and I wasn't, at least buying records, in 1960, because that would have been 3 years old in March. About what that album meant of Elvis's Back.
Yes.
And the first single, which was released in
a regular 45.
With a hole in it, because they didn't know what the song
was going to be.
But it said like Elvis's new record.
It's blue and yellow, and it says Elvis, but they didn't know what the song was going to be, so they had to just do the regular 45, which would have been like almost like a New Year's Eve.
Right.
And he did, it was stuck on you.
And he comes back from the Army in March and does those recording sessions.
Goes to Miami.
Then comes back and finishes, and the album is pressed and printed. And again, Colonel Parker, no name of the songs on the album, some Army pictures.
And it's done.
And it's printed ahead of time. Elvis records, they take the tapes, they press the records, it's in the store in like, I think I read 8 days, 7 days, something like that. Because they had the pre-orders already of 1 million.
Pre-orders, and that was done with paper.
That was.
Where you had to fill things out and send checks in.
Yeah, well, the best advancement, I think, in technology that would have helped everybody back in the day would have been not having to stand in line to get a concert ticket.
Oh, gosh, I've done that.
I don't really complain about handling fees, because I usually stand in those lines, and I would have gladly paid $1.55 for somebody that stands.
So this is inventory number 700 in our audio video collection. And inside of it, we have lyrics for a song called Operation Army Blues.
Occupation
Army
Army
Blues.
Yeah.
And this.
I've got those up, 2, 3, 4, occupation, Army blues. So originally written
This song,
as occupation.
exactly, this is GI Blues. This is the original listening acetate that Elvis got from Hill and Range with the sheet music.
So that's the demo.
This is,
Singing probably occupation.
Occupation,
Army
yes.
blues. And at
Uh-huh.
some point, Hal Wallace or somebody says, let's do
Yes.
GI blues.
and, I would love to play it for you, but the record player is in my office and it's kind of snowed in. But, yeah, so this is Occupation Army Blues, and those are the original lyrics for it.
By Sid Tepper and Roy C. Bennett.
And so, this would not be Elvis singing it, this is somebody else singing it as a demo, so Elvis can kind of get a feel for what it's going to sound like. And it's only one-sided, it's a true acetate, it's only one-sided.
So it's pretty much all the same lyrics.
Except they changed Occupation to GI.
Exactly, yeah.
Was it because of the movie? Was the movie GI Blues first? I don't know, I'd have to Google that.
From my GI hair to the heels of my GI shoes, so they have GI in the thing. Yeah, we never knew. Just
But-
like, Roustabout had a different song,
Yeah,
you know, which I never knew for years until it came out in the early 2000s,
Yeah.
late 90s. yeah.
yep.
Stick it in his ear, they wouldn't let him, they wouldn't say, stick it in his ear.
Stick it in there. The other really unique thing about the vinyls is that this,
Oh, that's, I
the
know.
smell of the vinyl is
Yeah.
just unbelievable.
I'll tell you a story about that this afternoon if you come to conversations, because we did something with that turntable that we'll be seeing this afternoon.
Yeah. So,
Wow, this is great.
so I kind of wanted to show you something different that literally is different because, so when Elvis would receive these acetates to listen to them, he'd listen to them and he was able to follow along and read the lyrics and figure out what he wanted to change.
There's an album that came out a few years back of a lot of Elvis demos by Glenn Campbell. That Glenn Campbell sang.
Yep.
Because he had a similar voice and could do that Elvis thing. And it's Glenn Campbell, so I mean, they're really good, they're Glenn Campbell. But then you hear Elvis and you're like, oh my gosh, how he tweaked it. If he tweaked it better.
Yeah.
And then it just his voice with these songs just.
Well, it's
fits
like
so well.
in the new exhibit, I keep playing the new exhibit, but there's a ad for Love Me Tender. And the story that we're telling with that ad is that is one of Elvis's probably top 5 songs ever recorded, and it almost didn't happen. And the musical director of the film, because Elvis didn't want to sing in his movies, Colonel convinced him it was in his contract and he was obligated to. And the musical director picked out 5 melodies, he said. His name was Ken Darby. Picked out 5 melodies, played them for Elvis. Elvis chose one. Ken went home that night. His wife Vera wrote the lyrics and named it Love Me Tender. Brought it to Elvis the next day. He goes, Elvis had the best ear in the world. He couldn't read music, he didn't need to, but he knew what fit him. Changed a couple of things and boom,
Yeah.
the rest is history.
Ken Darby was Glenn Campbell, one of his producers.
Was he? Yeah. So I just found that fascinating, and so that ad is telling that story about this song. This ad would not be here if this hadn't happened.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because it's really interesting, like you said, those songs in that movie are kind of era appropriate because those tunes were
Yeah,
from that.
he said that he picked.
Oralese.
Yeah,
is
he
Love
said
Me
he
Tender.
picked like 5 to 10, and they narrowed it down to 5 so he could continue to Elvis, but they were trying to find something that would fit Civil War and things like that.
Yeah.
I do have one more item.
Oh, okay.
One more thing. And this is the reason why there's an empty case of the exhibit, because we stole Elvis's army helmet out of the exhibit.
Wow. This
It
is
ain't.
why I put on the glove.
There you go.
Whoa, yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to take a, see, it's supposed to take a licking. There's a dent in there. Yep. But the best part about it, and this is what I love, because this again goes to the human side, is every GI had to label their own belongings, and so did Elvis. EP,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
EP, 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 EP. EP, EP. I think that's it. Yeah. Whose helmet's that?
Well, it was good until Ed Peterson joined the union.
Oh, yeah, they didn't know.
Like, Elvis, I got your helmet again. Sorry, Ed. Wow.
But is that not cool?
I have my dad's, and it's got the same
Lining?
brown lining inside, yeah. And this is all adjustable, you know, to And you did not go outside without your
Helmet on.
helmet on.
Yep.
Wow, look at that.
And for those of you who have the photo op package, this is your photo op.
Nice.
You're gonna also be able to hold Elvis's Army helmet.
There's a couple of dings in this.
There are, yeah, that's the reason why you wore the helmet.
Yeah, that saved Elvis's.
I would
head.
rather ding the helmet than ding the head, that's
Yeah.
for sure, yeah.
Not a lot of guys kept this when they came back. When
But
they-
Elvis kept everything.
Well, yeah.
And when we found Elvis's Army stuff, we actually found it all in the attic, and it was interspersed with Gladys's things. And so we had Gladys's dresses and her purses, and then in the same cedar closet, we had Elvis's Army fatigues hanging up there, and he had his boots, and it was all kind of intermingled together. So when we cataloged it in the archives, we kind of kept it, so all of Gladys's and Elvis's Army things are in the same location, on the same shelves. Since we brought them down from the attic and they were together in the attic, we just kind of kept them all together.
So when you think about it too, this is Elvis's chin size right here, because that would be
Yeah.
adjusted to.
Yeah, I know it's, as far as I know, unless it happened before I worked here, no one's adjusted it.
Yeah. Wow, that's a,
Yeah.
okay, that's a good. This could be used, you know, to fill the water. That's.
Ricky has a shovel today.
Use it as a helmet.
Hey, I wonder if that's so we can make a snowman and put it on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I brought over here. I wanted to again kind of show more of a personal connection, the personal side of Elvis, and his military days, because he really, this is when Elvis could just be Elvis, and didn't have to be Elvis, the teen idol, and the icon, or anything like that. He could just be another one of the guys.
And you know what, like I said, I had no idea what you were bringing. A helmet, a photo of yourself in the Army, a photo with your guys, a newspaper article that you're mentioning, these are all things that I have of my dad's.
Yeah,
So everybody, every soldier
has this stuff.
has this stuff. This is just Elvis's.
Yes.
With you taking care of it.
Yeah, that's what we
I
do.
feel really bad, I think mine might be in the attic, I better go get mine.
Don't worry, my best friend apparently found a box of her family history, and she goes, I'm just shipping it to you, it's a mess. And I'm like, okay, I'll fix it for you. I'll make it.
You've
And
got a
then,
lot of Mylar, so.
well, and then my husband wonders why all of Bella's stuff is literally in boxes labeled on a shelf. And I'm like, that's what I do. And I can go find, what do you want? You want her first Easter dress? It's in that box there. You want her first birthday? It's in that box over there.
When I was a kid growing up, because I was born on Roswell Air Force, it was Walker Air Force Base, Roswell, New Mexico.
That explains a lot.
And then we moved Richards Bar in Kansas City, and then my dad got stationed in Tupelo as an Air Force recruiter, and then he got called out in '68. He went to Alaska for a year. Luckily, my mother did not want to go to King Salmon, Alaska, and then he came back as a recruiter in Tupelo. And so we moved a lot of places, and then even when I went into broadcasting and had to move a lot, I remember this one lesson my dad had, because he would come in and he would say, I mean, in the military, if you get transferred, it's, guys, we need to pack up and we gotta be gone by Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to a new place.
So you have to go back and it's like.
Exactly, yeah,
There
and, my one rule, and every time I pack, I think of this, my dad used to always say, because we said labeling, you know, you put shoes in there. But the number one thing, you think it's not a problem until you try to unpack it. The box that you label miscellaneous. That is, I mean, don't even label it, it doesn't even matter.
Well, the funny thing is that some of those miscellaneous boxes we found of Elvis's have the coolest things in them.
Yeah.
Literally, the coolest things. Yeah. So this is Elvis in the Army.